this off.
All right, guys, we are back. It's been a minute. I know, I apologize. Traveling, vacations. Mama was here, so sorry. And welcome back to the weekly, episode 28. And this week we have a lot of stuff to cover. There was the iPhone XS and
It's because it say it like that, and I really want to start singing. Like I need you tonight.
exactly. And of course, a lot of announcements. But this week we have. Okay, can you stop now, please? Thank you very much.
That makes me sweat.
Dude, we said no Journey psychouts.
Yeah. But we have a special guest. We have one and only Mr. Adam Dowd. How's it going, Matt?
I am doing well. And you know what, guys? Let me tell you something. We're getting rid of the kids tonight. They're going over to my parents' house. So all you married guys out there, you know what that means?
Wow.
That means we can walk around and clean the house and they won't screw it up right away.
Okay.
It's going to be a fun night.
All right. Cool. And of course, we
call that our Netflix and chill night, but it literally is just like we fell asleep halfway through the movie.
And we have Mr. Juan back now. How's it going, Matt?
Hey, it's going well. This is really nice doing this more West Coast time. We should do this like this all the time.
Okay. Hey, look, people, everyone, this will be the poll question for the day. Leave your comments. Let us know. Should we move it to 3 p.m. in the afternoon, aka Eastern Standard Time? And maybe we can help Juan out, so he can wake up all refreshed. Or we can keep it at 12 p.m. so I can have my lunch dates.
Well, no. So, I mean, like the nice thing was I had the whole morning. Marie, Lex, and we did like a 4-mile hike. Little 3-year-old daughter did a 4-mile hike, and I'm feeling all energized. I'm feeling all invigorated. I'm feeling good. You're going to get probably a brighter, sharper, wittier Some Gadget guy than you've ever had on the Bored at Work podcast before. It's going to be awesome sauce.
I don't think we need a wittier Some Gadget guy.
Yeah, you
do. I think the regular Some Gadget guy is
red hat.
Yes, and Sam is here. His audio will come at some point, I believe.
I don't know. Is it any better? Or is it worse? What is it now?
Much worse.
I mean, we'll take you as is. I think
every one of these has been a step down, dude.
Yeah. I think Google just is not working with me. Seriously.
Oh no, I totally believe that. I've done 2 interview podcasts. That one of them is out now, and another one's going to be coming out soon. And many Google audio shenanigans abound. So Godspeed, good sir. Godspeed.
Yes. Well, let's kick the show off with the biggest.
This is why I don't do live podcasts, by the way.
Yeah, it's all right, man. It's all right. This is why we do it all the time for all the craziness. But this week was the week of the iPhone XS, or the iPhone XS, XS Max, and XR. Naming structure is fantastic.
Now, is it a coincidence that you're starting off with Apple news and we haven't talked about a uselessness of the week?
Depends on how you look at it, right? Depends on how you look at it. Now, we know Apple has new iPhones. The iPhone's pricing start from the highest with the XS Max. The naming structure is going to kill me. Is $1,099 for the 64 gigabyte variant, and then it goes up to about almost $1,500. And then the iPhone XS or the XS is at $999, and then the iPhone XR is at $750. Now,
that's the cheap iPhone.
That's the cheaper of the new ones. And also Apple has taken away the iPhone X, so that's no longer in the lineup. All that's left is the 8 Plus and the 7 Plus, right? Or 7, whatever, one of those ones there.
Yeah.
So all right, I'll start off with you, Juan. I know you're excited to just get all that off your chest. What did you think of this announcement and what Apple had in store? Because there are very random reasons.
Yeah, no. So I did. I actually live streamed the entire keynote, which was hilarious because I had a whole ton of people from like foreign countries that couldn't get the Apple keynote working in their regions, like jumping into my Periscope stream, and nice. I talked over the whole thing. So if you want to see my honest, truthful reaction when they announced the pricing on the iPhone XR and XS, it's a pretty good screen grab of shock and gasp on my face. The thing about that keynote, it was kind of a roller coaster ride where I really liked what Apple had to say about Apple Watch. The next series Apple Watch had me on board. I like Apple looking at health tech. Incorporating the ECG is awesome. The pricing on an LTE-enabled smartwatch is right where I would expect it to be. And this is the kind of competition I want to see against Qualcomm in getting Android Wear off the ground. So now, that 3-tier, I'm really positive on Apple doing Apple Watch. I really like what I'm seeing from Samsung on Galaxy Watch. And then we need to see Google get after their terrible wearable ecosystem. Then that plummeted when we got to the actual iPhone announcements. I have I put out, I have a hard time with this. I've been in social media hell for the last 3 days. I put out one tweet about Apple taking the dongle out of the iPhone XS box, and that's been engaged with over 2 million times on Twitter. This is like the biggest thing I've ever tweeted. And
fantastic, man. Good job.
The visceralness of the replies to this, both for my comments and against my comments, overwhelmingly more people supporting my side of the argument than people like, you got a couple trolly people that were, I'm glad they took it out of the box. I hate cables. I find this is an increasingly consumer hostile company. When I have to go and buy a dongle for a Mac that's $30 to use a $20 cable to connect to a $1,000 phone, or I have to get a headphone dongle that's $9 that's made out of terrible cabling and cheap shielding that I'm likely going to lose when it could just be built into the device and provide an actual benefit. When Apple's most recent business practices have actually encouraged people to buy products that are, I feel, unhealthy to use. And I've had those feelings somewhat validated by some of the top audiologists in the country. We're losing that fight. I'm going to keep fighting that fight, but the fight of convenience versus long-term health, we're going to lose it because Apple is a media marketing machine and the AirPods have become some kind of consumer standard. But when we look at a $1,000 smartphone that doesn't include a fast charger in the box, your phone's fast charger capable, but it doesn't include the fast charger in the box. We no longer include the $9 dongle, which is $9 at retail, but probably costs them 17 cents to make. When we look at their solutions to fix the problems that they created, they broke the phone so that you would have to go out and buy additional accessories to complete the phone, on top of buying a case, on top of buying a $200 Apple Care, on top of all of the other things that we've complained about with iPhones, no expandable storage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I just find that this is an increasingly galling business strategy that makes me terrified for Android phones in 2019. Where now Samsung has every market leverage to come out with the Galaxy S10 and say, but it's only $900. It's not $1,000 like the iPhone. And they'd be able to get away with that marketing message because we all know if you don't price something up against the iPhone, it's a cheap product. It's going from the Nexus to the Pixel. The Pixel wasn't magically better than a Nexus, but it was more expensive. So it was the Google iPhone, and now it's better, even though it really would have been the exact same phone, just in maybe a prettier shell. This is, to me, a trend that I'm very, very upset that Apple has not only continued to walk, but has made savagely tactical, and that they are leading the charge on this wealth extraction machine. I expect corporations to try and make as many profits as they can. This, to me, is starting to become a consumer hostile company.
It's interesting. A couple of things that you mentioned during that, you were talking about how we're trending towards, this various, and I'm already thinking of a couple of companies that are kind of doing what you're describing Apple is doing. Take, for example, breaking the phone so that you have to purchase another product from them to fix it. What about Motomods? What about, hey, here's a phone, it looks broken, and here's a product to fix it. Go Cubs. And then you're talking about, man, what was the other thing?
And especially you holding up a Motorola and you're rocking some really nice V-Modas, right? I really like crossfades. Those are great cans. But Motorola's headphone dongle strategy is terrible.
Right.
It's consumer confusing. It's low quality. It's poor output. And you wouldn't be able to properly drive the nice headphones you already own with the premium smartphone purchase you made on the Motorola without buying yet another additional accessory that prevents you from charging the phone. So it's a good thing that you've got a Moto battery mod.
charging the phone. Thank you for mentioning that, because that was the other thing I was going to mention. What about something like including wireless charging, but not including a wireless charger in the box? That's been going on forever.
And not even not including it, but the wireless charging base that they announced last year with the iPhone 10.
That's a different
Vaporware.
Vaporware.
Think about that. Actually would have been a consumer benefit. This is something I would have championed Apple for helping to continue pushing Qi wireless charging. That's a standard. It's not a proprietary Apple solution. And for those people that have bought into the Apple ecosystem, I don't want consumers to be punished for a company's bad decisions. So you don't want to put more wear and tear on your Lightning connector. You can now wirelessly charge your phone, save your Lightning connector for connecting earpods if you want to, or the dongle if you want to. But you have a one-stop shop to charge your watch, charge your AirPods, charge your phone, except for the fact that it still doesn't exist a year after it was announced.
Okay. Enough of all this anger. Sam, please bring in some levity into this conversation, because I know you feel differently about all this Apple announcements.
Oh, Apple had an announcement this week?
Okay, never mind then.
Right off the rails. Well done, Sam.
But I do want to get back to, and especially for you too, Sam.
Wait,
not just to keep this all cranky and stuff, but like we probably should at some point talk about the actual phone.
Yeah, which is what Sam's trying to get to, man. I know you're about to get cracky there.
I personally think it's a weird thing that Apple's doing now, releasing 3 phones at a time. It did that last year. It's doing this again. And this time they really don't have an excuse to release 3 phones at the same time, except for the fact that I guess they did it last year, so they have to do it this year. The XS and the XS Max makes sense. Actually, no, let's change that. The XS Max and the XR. You see, this is where I'm running into problems now. And this is someone who actually follows these things. And then we have the XX Max and XR. And
wait. Where did you get the double XS Max? Because
exactly. So basically,
telling you guys, tennis match, tenor. It makes it a lot easier. It's a lot easier. Then you don't have to worry about the letters and the.
No, I didn't get tennis match and tenor, but my wife thought the iPhone tennis was the most hilarious. Like, that's the dumbest thing you could ever name a phone. 10S. That's dumb. Apple, you're dumb.
Tennis match.
Really cute watching my little wife like savage Apple over a silly marketing decision.
But at the end of the day, the 10S to me doesn't make any sense in this lineup. The XR makes sense. And the XS Max makes sense. Those are the only 2 phones that make sense. So basically, the 10S is just there because they needed an S.
I agree with that provisionally, but I think the 10S or the 10R makes sense. I don't think they both make sense. That's the thing. Is as far as I could tell, the main difference between the 10S and the tenor was a dual camera and an LED screen as opposed to OLED. But I mean, that's really it. I mean,
and supposedly gigabit LTE. Then again, that one I want to personally check.
That's where I think it might be a little bit misleading, because what you'd be saying then is if you have gigabit LTE on one and not the other, chances are then you're saying you have 2 different chips in both of them, and that wouldn't make sense.
Well, no, honestly, I wouldn't put it past Apple to just throttle one, just software throttle one. I look at Apple has a history of throttling parts because of their own bad design decisions. You know, we didn't put in a big enough battery for it to age more than a year, so we'll just throttle your CPU when it gets to be about 6 months old. I wouldn't be surprised. What I'll be curious to see is, and this isn't necessarily a crack at Apple. I actually do respect Apple's decision to look at the market and see where they can get competitive parts. So it's pretty clear they're going to go Intel, not Qualcomm, for their radio management gear. I'll be curious to see if Intel can really step up to provide a mainline solution that can go toe to toe. Right now, if you compare data speeds on a Note 9 versus an iPhone 10, the iPhone 10 gets stomped on in most LTE markets. It's not close. So this is one of those things. If Apple's going to make the claim on gigabit LTE in those markets where you really have the backhaul to have gigabit LTE, is their radio really going to keep up with it?
That's really funny. That's one of the ones that was interesting when they made the announcement, because it said gigabit LTE, and I was like, okay. And then literally all the Qualcomm people that I know on Twitter went, we don't know if this is our chip. They literally said we have no
wow.
idea because
I thought
Apple isn't buying from them.
No, I thought from some of the news that we had covered, it was not confirmed yet, but that was pretty clear.
Qualcomm
that
CEO came out and said there is no for the new
okay,
iPhone.
so no, that is confirmed by Qualcomm. Okay.
Yeah, there's no LTE. So, but like, all right, let's see what Intel has to offer. And Intel hasn't made an announcement on a new chip.
From James W in the live chat, they said compatibility. It's compatible with gigabit LTE.
Oh, you got me. Okay, don't tell me that's what they
4G, 4G LTE is compatible. Are you serious?
I don't know. I don't have that confirmed. James W from the live chat. But how hilarious would that be if that was the marketing that they put out?
That would be, seriously, if they did that and the Apple fans come out and say that, oh, this is great, I would just spend a week just ranting at any Apple fan that I know, because that would just be stupid, like the max amount of stupid that anyone can have. Oh, hey, Lord.
I'll be right back. I have to go on Twitter for a second.
Hold my beer. I'll be right back.
All right, let's get into this.
Hold a second.
These tweeting fingers here.
Yeah, we got a question or comment from El Jeffe Reviews.
LFA,
sorry. Son. I know, and I met him. I know. Sorry, I just met him I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. I met him in San Fran. He just donated. Thank you very much. He said, "What's up, Thunder E? I think the combo of the iPhone XR plus Watch MK is good. Is going to be big hit this year. Great stream, guys."
So
I think XR will be big.
I agree. I think for a lot of my family and friends, in light of the fact that we won't get my precious successor to the iPhone SE, the best phone that Apple has ever made, the Mighty Mouse champion of iOS that I lovingly caress every night before I go to bed, along with John Velasco. I don't lovingly caress John Velasco before I go to bed every night.
I got to check it.
Are you trying
but we're both fans of the iPhone SE. I should. That's a strapping example of masculinity right there. I'd definitely be on board. But in light of not getting an SE, for a lot of my family and friends, I have so many people in my circles that are on like iPhone 6S's. And unfortunately, I don't think they're going to switch to Android. I think that pie's been baked. But that means we're going to have to position them for the more economical feature set. I don't like the hardware that this brings to the table. The price is extravagant, and it is a psychological marketing tactic. Yeah. They priced their cheap phone the same as a Galaxy S9 or an LG G7 at launch. So now it's like saying the smaller Galaxy, the smaller LG, those are also cheap phones. And a phone can only be nice and a true iPhone competitor if it's $1,000. This psychology is insidious in how we're marketing these products right now. But for a lot of folks out there, I'm really going to be pushing, if you need to stay in the iOS ecosystem, there are some serious compromises you have to live with, but the iPhone XR is probably going to be the right way forward.
Well, no, I definitely agree. What do you think, Adam?
The right way forward? That's I mean, yeah, you're being forced into it, unfortunately, and I mean, it's like, I want to say that Apple learned from their iPhone 5C debacle by like just pricing it higher this time. Mm-hmm. Because I mean, when you think about it, a lot of the comparisons between the big difference between the 5S and the 5C was the 5C didn't have Touch ID, was it, or Siri? It was one of the two. It must have been Touch ID at the time, right?
No, it didn't have a fingerprint sensor. I've got my phone.
Yeah. Okay, so that must have been it. So, I mean, but what I don't understand why. I just don't understand why the XR exists, except for the fact that I guess we need a quote unquote cheap iPhone. And if that's the case, then I mean, are we really, as human beings, are we really that gullible to think that a Samsung Galaxy S10 at launch is the cheap phone?
Yes.
I mean, are we? Because I don't want to be a part of that.
Look at Nexus versus Pixel. I'm serious. If it were really about trying to undercut via price but still offering a great experience, we wouldn't see price creep on a OnePlus. We wouldn't see Google change the brand from Nexus to Pixel. Right. Like, if you could really make the impassioned and intellectually nuanced argument that you can get 90% of the phone for 60% of the price, then I think we'd be in a better position to compete against Apple. But what we've seen as tech companies have become lifestyle brands is some of the same market pressure that leads people. I'm not going to sit there and bemoan someone who goes out and buys a $10,000 purse, or a dude who buys like a $6,000 wallet, or $4,000 loafers.
Right.
That's how they want to spend their money. That's the image and the lifestyle that they want to be a part of. That's great. But I'm a geek, and Apple used to be the geek-friendly company. And somewhere around the Intel swap, as they started getting into MP3 players and mobility, they became a lifestyle brand. And that's ultimately a win for the whole industry, because more tech out there is better for all of us. But it's exceedingly coming at a lack of competition and more reactive market-based strategies as opposed to tech innovations.
Yeah.
And I think the XR actually pushes that a little forward. Sorry, I can't turn my camera on right now. But the XR
What are you
actually
trying to
pushes
do
that
over there?
Darn you, Google.
Right? Because at the end of the day, when you talk about this being a lifestyle brand, I think that's exactly what the XR does. The XR takes the aesthetics of the iPhone X that these early adapters, people who could spend the money on the original X, they've had for a year now, and it now gives those aesthetics to someone who can't quite spend $1,000 on a phone, but can spend however much the XR is. So now they can floss, like, oh look, I have something that looks just like that.
Sam. Sam. Someone brought that up. I'll be really curious to see if the 10R is reacted to more positively than the 5C was, because the 5C was an obvious play at making a punitive, cheap phone. Because you couldn't buy the iPhone 5. You couldn't use the same cases as the iPhone 5. You couldn't use the same accessories as the iPhone 5. Apple went out of their way to make a visibly cheap iPhone. So you got the cheap iPhone as part of your lifestyle brand. Now I'm curious to see if we've gotten over that. If consumers have at least are a little more woke, and that showing off a pretty color might be more exciting than people making fun of them for having the cheap iPhone.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's the thing. How would you be able to tell with the C? You could tell because it had these.
When you put a case on that is not see-through. No, I know colors, but we're all going to be putting cases on. Let's put it in the factual sense. When you put a case on, it's an iPhone.
Yeah, it's an iPhone with a unibrow.
Right, but I want a clear case. If I end up spending time, I still haven't pushed order yet. I think I'm gonna buy the 10S next week. But I'm curious, like, if I were to rock a 10R, I'd actually want a clear case, because I want phones that come in colors.
Oh no, I definitely agree. I like the spicy orange or whatever it's called.
That's actually pretty cool.
But I think what the thing here is is that I did a video yesterday talking about the XR is the best iPhone to pick up. A lot of Android fanboys were talking about specs, and I was like, let's be honest, Apple users don't see that. And there are only 3 things that differ the 10R from every other iPhone from the new 10 series is OLED display, dual camera at the back, and gigabit LTE. Gigabit LTE, they haven't noticed it so far.
And in most markets, you don't have it anyway.
Right.
And iPhone and OLED display, iPhone users have had terrible displays and called it sexy for the longest time, so they are blind. Sorry.
I mean, we can be Android woke, and I love putting the G7 up against the 10R. Same launch price, right?
Yeah.
$750 at launch, $750 at launch. 4 times the resolution with an actual benefit to the LCD technology, not Apple making this specious claim that they have the most advanced LCD on the market.
Liquid
at 1/4,
retina, baby.
1/4 the resolution. And I don't know if it's RGBW, I'll be impressed that they do that. But quad sub-pixel LCD on the G7 is no joke. That is a bright, vivid, vibrant display that kicks ass for an LCD. But dual camera, top tier, premium, objectively the best audio that's ever been put into a mobile device. I mean, the G7 spec for spec crushes an iPhone 10R. But again, you're talking ecosystems now. And I can't make that recommendation to someone who's really invested into iOS and just say, drop everything you know, get rid of all of your apps, ignore your iTunes accounts, which, Apple might pull the movies out of your iTunes anyway. That should be our uselessness.
Stop, hold the brakes. Please let us make that a story. I heard the story. I haven't read it.
We're going to tangent this real quick. So iTunes is just like Netflix. You did not know this, but as part of a streaming platform that manages the movies that you buy on your account, at any time, the companies that Apple does business with can choose not to re-up with Apple. And then those movies that you've purchased, not the movies you've rented, the movies that you've purchased can be removed from your iTunes catalog. And if you don't notice, then you get nothing for it. If you do notice, you get a free rental as Apple's apology for them removing a movie that you've purchased. That's part of your terms of service. It's buried in the legalese.
Wait. Would this be a good place to drop in a swear?
Yes.
Okay. Fuck.
Right. That's our one F-bomb for the episode, the uselessness of the week. There is no media permanence in iTunes. People are just now starting to find out that individual films have been removed. I put it out as a tweet with the Apple logo on Darth Vader's face. I have altered the deal. Pray I alter it.
Dude, that's awesome.
Wow. When did they make that? They've had to make that change in clause recently, because that probably wasn't the original clause. I bet that there was probably some generic worded legal conversation in that licensing agreement that at any time the terms of your deal with Apple may change, and depending on the length of the how old the movie purchase is, Apple won't even compensate you. Like they won't be able to even compensate you. I buy something and then the most I get is a rental that expires.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the same with like Amazon and other places?
So I would imagine that Google Play and Amazon probably have similar licensing deals.
Holy crap! I really need to read.
This stuff actually hits fallout point where consumers get mad enough. Then I'm sure those companies will work towards rectifying the situation in a more pleasant way. This is barely getting any traction in traditional media because it got eclipsed by the iPhone launch.
I really need to read the terms of service.
Doesn't it just make more sense for them to ask their users to download this to somewhere outside of the iOS or
Sam, that would be a rationally considered and appropriate response to say
this is something you own.
We have an issue with this platform, and this is a way that you can correct it as the user. We're talking about Apple, though.
But it's not just Apple, because that just reminds me now of the Nintendo cloud situation. Basically, Nintendo Online, the Switch Online service. If you don't sign in or don't connect your Switch for 7 days, or you can use it for 7 days, after which time you have to connect it. Otherwise, you won't be able to play your NES games. And when your subscription ends, you no longer have access to your cloud storage.
Wait.
So I'm just saying, it seems like it's a trend for these companies now to say, hey, you have to keep paying us. Otherwise, the things that you expect to have without the service goes away as well.
Well, and there are definitely hard versions of this, like moving from a PS3 to a PS4, none of my games transferred, right? But moving from my old gaming PC to my new gaming PC, I've done business with Steam. So we're seeing this lobster pot effect happen in various incarnations, but we really do need to keep bringing these conversations up, because we live in an age where you don't own media. You are licensing your ability to consume media. Sometimes I think that's done really fair. I think Netflix is an example of doing that really fairly.
Sure.
You pay $10 a month. You can stream all the movies and TV shows you want. When you stop paying, you stop getting the ability to license that content.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
But
That's 100%.
digital distribution of content follows similar parallels, regardless of whether or not the company that you're doing business with says that you're subscribing to a service or if you're buying and owning content. You didn't buy the movie. You purchased a ticket to license an ability to watch the movie, and that license can be revoked.
I have a migraine.
Well,
as opposed to buying like a DVD. Right.
Not to take this not to throw this too far away from our initial conversation, but this is why I am 100% an advocate for some kind of, online identity or online identifier that people can use, where these actual purchases are not tied through their Apple account, their Netflix account, or their Amazon account, but are tied to a unique user identifier, so that this person can have access to their content no matter the service they're using.
Yeah, I completely agree, Sam. I think the frustrating part for that, what'll be a roadblock, is every company is going to want to be the standard. So we're going to have a dozen different standards for the ID. But I do want to bring this up. Sorry, just real quick, and then I'll shut up. The Ronald Collins in the live chat, an example of how to do this right was when Microsoft ended Groove Music. I had a ton of music in Groove, and I was able to download all of my music as reasonably medium quality MP3s. But I didn't feel like that was I didn't feel like the loss of that service through music I had purchased, not like just like streamed. Like I bought albums in Groove, and they had a lot of free albums that I would get once a month. But I felt like that was an appropriate way to sever that service. I didn't get like a coupon to get 10 minutes of extra Skype talking content for all of my hassle in buying music on Groove. This to me is an example of how you can appropriately fix the problem for consumers. Apple's strategy with every problem that Apple has is try and bury it, try and keep it quiet. There's malware on Macs. Don't talk about it for months. And then when it reaches a boiling point or a consumer class action lawsuit arrives, then give some token effort to try and make it look like you're fixing the problem. Your MacBook keyboards blow up after a couple months. No, there's not a problem. There's not a problem. There's not a problem. Take it to a Genius Bar. Have Apple Care. It's not a problem. Oh, you're suing us? Okay, we'll kind of fix it for some people.
You're holding it wrong.
And Warren has joined the conversation. How's it going, man?
Hey.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
you. Look at that snazzy setup you got there.
Yeah, where are you at, Warren? Why is the bed ruffled up?
Warren, you have art in the back. What's going on there?
I am in the Oregon of Portland variety today.
The Oregon of Portland variety. So you're the West Coast. All right, cool, man. Thanks for joining. We're still talking Apple here. We were talking about the iPhone XS Max and Match and Tenor. AKA.
Very well. Very good.
Yes.
If I can get that adopted into a second podcast, I will be very happy. I will consider today a success.
So we talk about that. We kind of moved from that.
You know, Warren, just based on the comments right now, you might have to change your apartment so that the background looks just like this.
Exactly. Yeah. Just saying.
My apartment's not this cool.
I think you need to take that painting with you.
I was gonna say that's a dope backdrop for you, dude.
It is. It is dope.
Sir, why are you walking away without painting, sir?
What painting? Look, new iPhone.
New iPhone.
Oh wow!
I'm in Portland. I'm Portland. New craft beer, and I'm out.
So Warren, just since you're joining in, and since you're gonna have a fresh take away from all the anger that we've portrayed earlier, what do you think about the XS Max and XR? See, I've already changed the name again. The iPhones.
I'm fine. I'm gonna call them XS Max and XR because they sound better than what they're trying to force the names to be. But I think they're usual. They're TikTok, so it's like their small update. I think the Max is probably like the big one. That's got the most updates with the biggest battery. What is the biggest battery that the iPhone's ever had? And it has
the biggest battery is actually in the XR, according to Apple's specs. In terms of battery life, you can check it out. The XR actually will give you the longest battery life of all the iPhones, which is kind of weird.
Well, I'm talking about just battery capacity, not necessarily rated battery.
True. That's true.
Battery life is what.
Yeah, they might be the same and just benefiting from the lower resolution.
Yeah, that is true.
The most likely LCD, and they're benefiting from low resolution is what they're getting out of that. I think the first two are cool. I think the XS Max, not surprising. That's what Apple does. The XR is this trickery of a money grab that they're using with this device. They're essentially their target market is for those people that don't care about what iPhone they get. They just want the latest iPhone with just whatever they have and however cheap they want to pay for it. So they're getting a less spec phone at probably where Apple makes more money off of than they do the other two devices. And to me, it's just an odd duck that I get why it exists, but it exists at the benefit of Apple, not necessarily the benefit of the consumer.
Yeah, no, you missed when Juan was talking about basically these being lifestyle brands, and that's why I think the XR makes sense, because it's for that person who can't spend an XS the amount of money on the XS, but
you can't spend 150. You can't spend $150 more.
You never know.
That's the problem with that. It's $150 more.
$250 more. Yes, and it's.
No, are you sure?
Yeah,
$250 more.
$750 to
$1,000 is the XS.
$750 to $1,000 no, but what does the XS start at? It's $999, right?
$999. And
what does the XR start at?
$749.
$749.
Then if you want to compare similar screen sizes, it's $350.
I mean,
so if you go from the 10R to the 10S Max, it's $350 difference.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that price difference.
Wow, that sucked all the air out of the room.
Everyone's like,
you're assuming there was air to begin with, sir.
Hold on a second here.
Yeah, I mean,
$749 and $999. But here's my problem. I think this is my problem with it. It's that the iPhone 8 still exists. So if the iPhone 8 still exists at $599, why the hell would they get an XR for?
Because they want a new iPhone.
Unibrow.
It doesn't exactly, and that's the thing. Apple users are like that.
Fingerprint sensors are so 2016.
Oh my god,
but
if you're 2000 and late.
But if you're talking about if you're talking about 6 and 7 users upgrading, and they're most likely upgrading with probably a trade into it, their best value is going to be a 7 or an 8. They're just gonna get more out of that with their trade-in than they are gonna have to spend with the R.
But I think that's the logical. That's a logical calculation.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's the law. If you believe that Apple consumers are logical consumers,
but we're sitting there
consumers.
But we're sitting there saying, well, users don't. Literally, the argument is users don't care about screen size or specs, so the XR should just sell because users just want the next iPhone just to work for them. How the hell would they spend $749 on that?
Because they just want the next iPhone.
Yeah.
Answer your own question, man.
But okay, for them, if they want the next iPhone and they have the 6 or a 7, the next iPhone for them is an 8. That's probably going to cost them. If the trading value holds up, it's going to probably cost them anywhere from $200 to $300.
That is too much calculation there. Most Apple users.
I was told there would be no math.
No, most Apple users always go the newest. What's the newest iPhone?
Well, I don't want to paint all Apple users with.
Oh no, wait, I am. So
hold on. What? But I'm building to something. Hold on, just 1 second. Okay. Is we use Apple as that frontline educational resource on what their products cost and what the market value for things are. And so if we're talking about trade-in values, I believe a statistically significant chunk of the iOS buying populace is going to look at Apple's trade-in program as being the de facto standard, where if you have an iPhone 10, it's worth $500 as a trade-in, right? You can sell it on SwapUp for $800 somewhere in there.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's what we're going to look at in terms of trade-in values. There's going to be a notion if I have a 1-year-old phone, it's worth maybe a little bit more than 50% of its original sticker price. That's the education that Apple is going to provide on these products. And so when you go to the Apple website, are you going to be sold on the lesser phone with the bigger bezels and the older technologies, or do you want the new prettier colors, or do you want the really nice premium iPhone? And look, we've got this way that you can trade in an old phone, get $25 for an iPhone 7, and then you can flip that and make sure that you're on the pulse. And we even have a what do you call that? Not a leasing deal. Well, they have their leasing program too.
Yeah,
they do.
So you don't have to spend $1,000. It's only $50 a month So I mean, problem solved there too. That's overwhelmingly, and the Apple's not solely guilty of this, but that's overwhelmingly colored the public's perception on how much these things cost. A Note 9 does not really cost you $1,000. It costs you $50 a month. $1,000 is scary. $50 a month, maybe I can handle that. So that's
pretty
really
scary.
Oh no! Oh, I agree. $50 a month when you don't get to own anything, to me, is not a great business proposition.
I mean, that would be like, I don't know, like buying a movie and then finding out that you can't.
It's actually worse than that. It's $50 a month with an upgrade program. So if you decide to upgrade, you basically are whatever you've paid so far, plus then the minus what the next phone costs. So you still have a difference. And if you keep going, you just keep building up
and taxes
up and building up.
And taxes.
Yeah, taxes.
It is a scary proposition. When I read that thing, I'm like, whoa.
So I was actually
really
maybe I'd go when I went back to my solo channel. I was really thinking maybe I'll go jump on demand. Right? It doesn't sound like a terrible deal, but then in store it's like, oh well, you've got to pay this up front. You've got to stick with the plan for like 3 months, or no, it's like 2 months, and then you have to pay for a phone you don't want for 2 months, and then you can be put in line for a phone that you do want. Then you can flip it, but then you have to pay all the taxes up front, and you don't get that money back, and it doesn't go towards anything. And you still have to pay the month to month on what it would cost to buy that phone through our regular jump program. So if I wanted to spend a month with an iPhone, it would end up being close to maybe almost $300.
It's about 300. It's about 385 because I've done it a couple of times. The only thing I'll tell people is if you're doing that with any program, the best phone to still do it was the iPhone. The one thing you should always do is do the jump, take your old iPhone, sell it on Swapper, especially the X. The X 64 gigabytes is going for $785 because it doesn't exist anymore in Apple stores. So you sell it, you're only going to pay, and you pay the difference off that you pay on your whatever's on your jump, and then you have a lot into your new iPhone. There, that's just it.
So let's say you're trading an iPhone 7, and then it's in good condition. They get an iPhone 8 in the Apple Store, they'll give you $200.
Okay.
So that turns the difference between. I'm just going with the basic line. So $599 now turns into, $399, versus if you do that for the XR, you're still in the $550 range.
Adam?
Well, I was gonna say, or that $200 is the difference between getting a tenor and getting a tennis instead. You see how that works? It's great. It's beautiful.
No. I mean, I do hear you, Warren, but I think also we all know how it works in the stores. And if you've been to an Apple store, they're not going to tell you about the 8 or the 7. The first thing is at least whatever the new iPhones are, whether it's the 10 or the XS or whatever the devices are, until the person specifically says, I want a
Poco phone.
But people also come in now. What's not considered as much is people now come in with a little bit more knowledge than they used to with things. So they come in with the idea.
I'm not discounting that. I honestly, and I know I have some Apple fans, but I think the level of decision is lower in thinking, in classification, than maybe an Android user, because they don't think about those specific cost benefits. They go, well, this is newer, this is better. We go for
and also, I mean, in Android land, you kind of have to weigh that because there's more than one company making Android phones. So I think it's just by the nature of the market. It's kind of like the PC market. People don't really stop at, I want to buy a PC, and then just pick the first one that they see. But if you want to buy a Mac, well, there's only one manufacturer for that. So there's only really one product that's likely going to be the consumer purchasing decision. Right.
Yeah, which is why when you make a video on the Galaxy Note 9, you get people asking you, is the Poco phone better than this? And you're going, yeah, it's got an 845, but it's a very different category.
Right. And when I do iPhone videos, no one's gonna make that like, is the Poco phone better than an iPhone 10R?
Yeah, that's why I say they know the mindset of their users, which is why this product is built that way. And people like us look at it and go, my God, you're throwing a 720p display on that thing, and you want to charge $750? You're not even
so here's the interesting thing. I did the pricing on the trade-ins yet again. This is based on a device that's perfect, or at least trade-inable, where it doesn't have any like crack screens or weird stuff going on with it. If you trade in a 7 for an iPhone XR, you get $200 in value, so it'll turn down into $549. If you trade in the 8, you'll get $350, so it'll put that phone in half for the XR. But there's no. I'm sorry. If there's a salesman that's on that's at a store that is going to get anywhere from $200 to $350 on a trade-in, if they're worth their skills, they're going to talk them up to the higher phone. They're gonna talk them up out of this to the higher phone.
Yeah, I mean, which is what they want. So it's the scalability. It's one of the two. It's like it's either you're stuck on that or you go to the higher one, and that's why that price difference there. It's like it's the when we said 250, and Juan said, the volume went out of the room, the air went out of the room. That's what you're going to get. It's like I'm just going to steer the XR. I think I can do it. It's just that.
Well,
that's
and
what
also Apple does have kind of, again, like why I keep saying that Apple's policy is becoming borderline consumer hostile. Let's say you really and earnestly wanted to switch from a 1 or 2 year old Android to go join your friends and not be the lone holdout on iMessage. You wanted to jump over into that iPhone ecosystem. When you go through the website and you try and do their trade-in program, they have all of the brands that they'll accept. So obviously at the top of the list is Apple. They've got BlackBerry, Google, HTC, LG, Nokia, Samsung, and other brands. So let's click on Samsung, right? Most likely, statistically, if you're leaving Android to go iOS, you probably had a Samsung.
Mm-hmm.
Which model? Samsung Galaxy. Doesn't tell you what year.
Speaking.
It doesn't say Galaxy S6, S7, S8, S9. Then it just asks what capacity. So you have a Galaxy, and let's say I've got a 32 gig Galaxy. Then it starts asking you about the individual phone brand. So it stops at the Note 5.
Wait, you mean going up or going down?
You have the S6, the S6 Active, and the Note 5. The Note 5 is the most recent phone that Apple will accept. So how much do you think we're going to get for a Galaxy Note 5? Does it turn on? Yes. Is the enclosure in good shape and all the buttons work? How's the screen? It's in good shape.
$75.
$100.
Oh, Apple is generous.
Very generous. More than generous. But look, I really think about the psychology of what they've built into their website trade-in program.
Oh, no, they're generous.
Trade in an iPhone 10,
yeah, but
you can't trade in. They make it painful for you to trade in a phone that is actually of a higher value. Right? So they're not gonna let you take your dirty Android through the website and give you more money for it. But if your phone is slightly older than that, what happens is they'll just recycle it for you for free. So if you have like a Note 4, not a Note 5, maybe you get $25 for it. But if you have a Note 3, well, we'll take it off your hands and we'll recycle it for free because we're so nice.
So we can get that copper out.
And there's no value there.
Yeah, right. No, exactly.
Right.
Okay, I think we've harped on this a lot, and we can probably spend the whole podcast talking about.
I was gonna say we're 50 minutes in, and we haven't talked about anything else.
Well, yeah, Apple has that effect. I was just curious, like, because I didn't really know what to share or what to say. Was there anything about the phone itself that you guys thought was cool? I mean, we know S phones are iterative, like they're just improvements, but are we excited about the new AR stuff? Are we looking
I
forward?
just want to I want to see the smart HDR because the way they talked about it sounds close to what Google is doing. So if it can, then okay, that would be interesting. That's literally. And then they said they've got bokeh what do you call it again? Slider, which Samsung already.
Yeah, the adjustment that you can do in the background.
Yeah,
they finally caught up to the Huawei P9.
Yeah, they talked about it like every Android manufacturer has that in some degree.
Anyway. The Z2 said that too.
Yeah, see, you just keep listening. But to me, it's a smart HDR. I want to see how that works. If it does help their photography to catch up, but there was nothing to me in this device that said fresh in any way, other than 3 new names that we all cannot pronounce in some different level, or at least we just want to call it something else.
I pronounce them just fine. I don't know about you guys. But
all right.
no,
Let's
I actually would like to spend some time talking about the watch, if that's all right. I mean, I know we're going all Apple all the time here, but
dude, we just said we're trying to leave Apple, and then okay, fine. Let's talk about the watch a little
but we
bit.
haven't even
Let's
talked
let
about the
Adam
watch.
talk
The
about the
watch.
Fine.
The watch was arguably the highlight of the show, at least in my world. So
Absolutely.
I
Completely
was impressed and very disappointed at the same time. I put out a joke there saying, this is just me quickly wrapping up the watch, saying, I'm glad it's got EKG, it's got all this health stuff, but I'm sorry with the supposed 18-hour battery life that if I don't charge it, the next day I'm going to trip, fall, have a heart attack, and no one will be called.
that's
Done.
true. That's
I
true.
mean, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, the battery life is a concern. No doubt, especially with the new Qualcomm chips, especially with, the average Android Wear watch lasting a day and a half, and that's if you
Galaxy Watch, baby, 4 days.
Oh, and the Galaxy Watch, yeah, I've got a S3 Frontier that lasts for about 3 days on a single charge. So 18 hours is still pretty damn embarrassing. But the one philosophy of the watch that Apple has adopted from day one is that the Apple Watch is a screen on your wrist. It's not a watch; it's a screen on your wrist that does stuff, and it also shows you the time. And they've Apple and whether or not that philosophy is what has carried the Apple Watch to its success, I don't know. But the Apple Watch is focused on the right things, whereas Google is still trying to figure out how to make a smartwatch a watch.
Well, actually, I think Google went from it's a watch with Google Now cards to, oh, no, now it can do all these other things. But the evolution has been very ham-fisted.
It's still a watch, though. I mean, it's still a watch first.
I completely agree with you. It's just I actually agree more with the sentiment that this should be a short piece of information delivered. I mean, I'm wearing a Pebble again.
You're adorable.
This is adorable. It really is. But I don't want a computer on my wrist. I want less fiddly interactions. I want more streamlined, at a glance information delivery. But of course, whenever I take a stance on something like that, most of the time the market will prove me wrong. No,
I mean, I have always seen a smartwatch as nothing more than a screen on my wrist, and I don't really care if this clock is on all the time or not. I would actually prefer it not be, because when I'm not looking at it, I don't really care if the watch is on or not. But just a lot of what Apple is doing with the smartwatch is the gamification of the health features, and now the additional heart detection features. And look, I'm 42 years old. This stuff is starting to matter to me. Okay, like maybe you kids don't care about this stuff.
Yeah, that's right. We don't care because
tomorrow
we are
something that the Apple
we
Watch
are kids.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, I'm young and indestructible still, so.
Right.
Yeah, I'm still 26.
That's my whole thing. Is just Apple's doing a lot of smart things when it comes to health, and just their whole philosophy about the Apple Watch has always been so much better than what Google's doing with smartwatches.
It started out rough, but they've made it a much better platform for wrist computing.
I do agree. I do really agree with them. I think that what they put up on the table for the Apple Watch is, in terms of the health features, is really nice. Now, if they can connect that with healthcare providers in some level, that there's a lot that has to go into that. But I do like that, at least, in terms of feature sets, you have this feature set. You can make fun about, falling and I can't get up, but it is a nice feature to have. Like it really
I want my grandmother to have that watch.
So those things are to me, those things are great. I would like to see better battery life. I would like to see a bigger watch face. To me, it's too small. I cannot wear it. Just me. And also something round, please. I personally.
I also think the version with the eSIM is probably going to be a big seller. Not because I think that's probably not because I think it's a great feature, but because I think it's Apple finally doing something like this. So having a watch being able to make calls without your cell phone might be what we need to get that to other smart devices. Because I think it's a feature that's arguably useful.
but the Series 3 did that, the calls without having your phone with you.
Oh, I thought That's
No,
because
it started with Series 3. It started with
it was
Series
started
3.
with Series 3. Oh, I thought it was started with the Series 4. Oh,
No,
I
no,
should
no.
have
Oh, yeah,
with the
yeah.
Series
It
4.
starts with
OS
Series 3.
yeah.
I think for me, just because I spent time this week and saw the Qualcomm one, but I got to see Wear OS, the new version, which thankfully it is more because I hate Wear OS. I absolutely hate it. Every watch video I do, I mention how I hate it first before I talk about anything else.
Yeah, and each generation has gotten. I fell for the potential trap when it first came out. Oh, there's so much potential. This could be really interesting. It's got some rough spots, but let's see how they clean it up. And every generation of Wear OS after has been worse performing than the generation.
So this one gives me a little hope because at first, you know how you talk about first glance usability, it's got that built in. It still has all the other stuff in there, which I'm going, I would love you to streamline it somehow. You know, it's almost like they've got this 4-quadrant approach where you can swipe to see the things that are just important to you right off the bat, which makes sense. But then there's still the other aspect. So I'm still not sure what they do with that. I just do like the fact that at least they do have a chipset now that pushes them to better battery management, like all the other activities you want to do on the watch, whether it's the fitness and stuff like that. But Google has to make a statement and make a Pixel watch and show us what they want to do.
They're not going to.
And they're not going to.
No. Let's get it right. They didn't. They said, what did they say? They didn't say anything about a Pixel watch, mind you. You know, they said something specific.
I know. If they play that game with us, I'm actually going to be mad. Where like,
come on, you know they're going to do that.
I really don't want them to. I don't want them to do another LG watch that is what we want to show Android Wear OS off on, but it's not really the Google Watch. Either do the Google Watch or the Pixel Watch or whatever you're going to call it, or don't. But I have very little faith in their wearable platform right now. Wear OS should be an ecosystem of technology on our body, not a dumb branding for one hamstrung Android operating system that lives in a circular face on my wrist. It should be in glasses, it should be in hats, it should be in chest straps, compression pants, in shoe sensors, Wear OS. But it's not any of that. So Google has completely walked away from this conversation, IMO.
Sam, I will tell you that the Mont Blanc looks absolutely fantastic. Just looks. Just I'll tell you that much. Since I know you like Mont Blanc, just say it. But anyway, let's move on.
Smartwatches are bullshit, and let's keep moving on here.
All right, moving on.
I stand by my 2014 video on that, and I'm still right about it.
Still winning.
All right, let's move on
with the tiger blood
to the month October, which is I call the month of no life, because we have about 7 at least device launches, starting with Microsoft October 2nd, LG October 3rd, Google October 9th, Razer October 10th, Samsung yesterday said, hey, we've got 4 times the fun on October 11th, Huawei's October 15th, I believe, and there's a Nokia launch again, October something in between there with their 5-camera system that looks like a fly's eye or spider eye or something like that. But let's start over Microsoft.
So what you're saying is I should.
Ain't no damn Surface phone. Let's just kill that off right now.
No, Surface phone all the way.
Yeah, no.
So do you think it's just purely refresh and that's it?
Yep. If they come out with a Surface phone, how many people are going to laugh at that thing? It won't even be given a shot. It could be a great phone, but let's be honest. Will it be given a shot?
We just took a poll, and at least 1/5 of us will be getting it.
I mean, if it comes out, I don't think it's likely. But if a Surface phone comes out, I will definitely take one for a spin.
I think it's going to be called the Surface Foldable, not a phone. It's not a phone. I don't think they even.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. I think it's going to be more a Surface ultra portable computing platform with an always on.
They've left the phone business. It's going to be a Surface, the portable, ultra portable device. You're right,
but always connected device.
It might be a Surface tablet. I mean,
that's
be
kind of
a Surface.
But I think in all of the mock-ups we've seen, it would be exciting. I think if you had like a Courier style design or an Andromeda style folding
design. Give me a Surface with tiny bezels and a better processor.
Y'all gonna get your refreshes. Be happy.
That's all I'm asking for. They don't need to do anything great with the Surface.
If this doesn't start off with panels, there's no hope.
It's gonna start off with Panos. You know that.
They don't start off with Panos. There's no hope.
So refreshes the Surface, and some of us are saying it's going to have their foldable device or something.
No, I just think I don't even think they make a foldable device. I think they just make a Surface that's always on. Yeah, that's all that's going to be the always connected one.
So that's the connected Surface.
Yeah. So the always connected PC can actually like get somewhere.
Yeah, it's been coming for a while now. We've been seeing.
We know that.
I think that's what's going to replace that Surface 3. So the little basic Surface 3 they made a while ago. Here's your always connected one right here, and refreshes of everything else.
Reduce the bezels, Microsoft. Reduce.
You know.
And they're going to have what's the only pad that you can land an airplane on.
The only other major thing they could ever announce with the Surface thing is that they decide to throw an AMD inside of it. That's like the most big thing they could ever say they could do with it. That would be like, oh shit. Other than that,
just tell.
I really think they're going to make the push on Qualcomm. The whole Qualcomm Intel fight lately has been pretty rough. So
they're going to make the push to Qualcomm. I like.
No, look. All I want is just to call it Surface Threadripper, man. Threadripper build. I'd be like, PC rig. Whoa! Everybody's going to be like, no.
Because it's gonna have 5 minutes of battery life.
It's gonna be thick.
Yeah, I don't care, man. I'm gonna carry it around. I'm like, yes.
Just you. Only you.
Enemy. All right, cool. So we kind of get an idea of Microsoft. Moving on to the very next day, also in New York City, LG. I said the V40 event because it's the V40 ThinQ coming up.
You're welcome.
Huh?
Yeah.
Sorry?
What?
Okay. Yeah. All right. Adam.
I heard it.
Wait, you have Juan on the podcast and you're asking me about the LG?
Well, start with anyone other than Juan when we're talking about an LG.
No, I'm going to end with Juan, of course. I mean, this is his baby, man. So I'm leading up to him, man.
Okay. Well, I think see what I did there. The phone is gonna it's gonna be a refresh of the V30, which wasn't a thing, if I remember correctly. I don't know. LG's kind of fallen off my radar, to be perfectly honest. I don't know. Too much of a Me Too brand, I think. It's kind of in the same neighborhood as HTC, I think. They're just, I don't know.
I would disagree that they're a Me Too brand. I think they're just like a forgotten soul with a lot of their stuff. They don't know how to market one damn thing to save their lives. They can market TVs. They can market fridges. They can market appliances. They can market everything else. But as far as their phone division goes, they cannot market that thing to save their lives. I still walk around amongst plenty others with a G7, because the G7 is actually a really good device with a really nice camera. It has its own individual things to it that make it separate from other devices out there. It is not something I go, they copied Samsung. They did not copy Samsung with this. The most they did is they copied the stupid notch thing, which you can actually get rid of if you don't want to have the notch. But at the end of the day, if you can't market it outside of Aubrey Plaza doing a selfie, you're gonna have this issue where everybody forgets about it. I don't think it's a Me Too thing with them. I think they actually tried to do something different with with this phone. And
I shouldn't have. I misspoke when I said Me Too. I should have said like Samsung alternative.
Little bro.
Yeah.
That's what we like.
I don't even think they're a Samsung alternative. I think they do some things a little bit better. But it comes down to they can't market for shit.
Yeah, no, I mean, there are a bunch of things, and we've talked about this in a while. Marketing is one, but also timing is the other. Timing is the other. Look at the time of the making this announcement. In between everything, and right now, people's mindsets are going to be Pixel.
This phone's going to be forgotten within a week that it gets announced.
Now it's Pixel, and then of course there will be Huawei as the other outside, because Huawei has just made so much noise this year, right? Yeah.
Except you still can't buy one in the US.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not Huawei's fault, though.
I would more go.
Is it though?
Announce this phone in November. Why not? Just have your own month. I know it's. Yeah. I know that's the video game month. I get it.
No. Announce it end of October. Make sure it comes out immediately. Yeah. Like a week, like first week of November. Boom,
and you can buy it now.
Exactly. Done.
Yeah. I would. If I was them, I'd be the last to be out. Just be the last ones. Just be the last one there. Have your own little time. announce your phone, because you still have a leg up over the Motorola's and the HTCs of the world because you're still making more compelling devices than they are. It's just that you just aren't marketing it very well.
Right.
And then, but the thing is, when people buy the LG phone, then they like it. Once they take the chance and they get it, they like it. So I think the thing is, like, they still get people that purchase their devices and have it and keep it. But it's getting people to go out there to purchase the device itself is the problem. It's not like where I think with like HTC and Motorola, I think people buy it and then this ain't Samsung and then swap it out. I really think that's the way I think people end up feeling with those phones.
Let's get Sam into this conversation here for a second. Unmute, buddy. Unmute.
Unmute.
Damn it, Sam.
Well, I had the clean lady was here, so I just making sure that she.
Ooh, look at Mr. Fancy.
Yeah.
Oh, my cleaning lady. I'm just.
Hey! I have a cleaning lady.
Exactly, you
I have
too,
a
sir.
toddler. We would have to clean before the cleaning lady got here.
No, we all do that. Look, not to go on the side. I do that all the time. I'm like, I tidy up, and then the cleaning lady comes over and she's like, "Why are you cleaning?" I'm like, "I just feel odd that someone's coming to my apartment and it's not clean."
So basically, you're paying someone to embarrass you enough to do your cleaning.
Exactly. Dude, that should be a future service like that.
No, that's actually really smart, because it's kind of like when I was paying for a personal trainer, it's like I could be doing all these exercises myself, but I can't be embarrassed but in front of the personal trainer. So I really got to show up.
But on the LG stuff, I think the V4, like the V lines of phones, I've actually liked those lines. It goes to the whole idea that I think these phones are now leaving the whole premium phone logic and going more to the specific use case phone logic, which is the V40 for me has always been a phone that's been creative centric. So if you're a creator, you need a great camera, you need something you can actually do some editing on, go for the V40. The V30 was great, the V20 was great, the V10 was amazing, it was like eye-opening. So I think it's a great device. Is it going to sell? Is it going to be widely popular? Probably not. But for the people who need something like this, it is going to be their go-to.
LG is probably okay with that. Yeah.
You know what they need to do?
We're listening.
This is a Samsung copy thing they need to do, but I think it'll benefit them because they focus their phones on creativity. They need to have their own version of Dex, so that people can actually create on the go.
Sit down and I
totally agree.
Yeah.
If they go that route, they're going to get a lot of people that go, "Oh, actually, I can do that."
Is anybody else surprised that Google hasn't copied Dex in one way or another? Like,
no, actually, because that cannibalizes Chrome OS.
Yeah,
that's true.
I wouldn't be surprised if they have some type of back.
I think down the line,
but
I think it's future. I think their solution is going to be.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if they've help Samsung. I don't want to say develop it for Samsung, but I wouldn't be surprised if they had some input on how the Dex works.
I can almost tell you that they didn't, because there are three companies who have that. One is also Razer with their whole phone in the dock thing, which I spoke to them and they said, we did this all ourselves. Like, this is and theirs is actually pretty smooth too. A lot of it's not as hard as he thinks. I think Google just really wants to not cannibalize Chrome OS, and also, like Juan said, Fuchsia is probably that step down the line when they actually hit there. But of course, Juan, LG, let us go.
So here's where I'm a little more bullish on LG than I was at the beginning of the year. The G7 launch was tragically terrible. We went through the will they, won't they. They were going to cancel the phone at one point. They were sort of shopping design ideas. Remember, they had all those public forum discussions about what should our phone look like.
Oh, yeah.
And then we finally got the G7, and the G7 got hammered by a bunch of cranky tech reviewers that thought it was the biggest insult ever that the G7 was priced $20 more than the smaller Galaxy S7.
That would require actual product knowledge to make comments like that.
I mean, like, I don't really want to throw shade, but I mean, look at the quality of commentary LG got at the beginning of the year. Marquez did a first look, but he never did a review. He didn't put a G7 in his top 5 camera comparison. Like, we're talking about a brand that sends birthday cakes to major YouTubers for them to not talk about their products. So there's a major problem with LG marketing. And because, Warren, you totally nailed it. You had major sporting events going on this year where LG's ad was showing off a Google Assistant feature. That's not a good look. What's frustrating is immediately after that, they did put out a new ad for the G7 talking about the boombox feature. And it was a really well-produced Apple-style ad. One focus on one feature that is genuinely different than any other phone on the market. And it did get a little bit of a TV spend. And after that initial push of geek rage for the G7 sales are much higher than G6 sales were over the same period of time. Yeah. So I think LG is starting to figure out some kind of brand identity for their phones. It's just going way painfully slower than I would like. As it comes to the V40, this is already my most anticipated phone of the year. I'm expecting this to be a successor to the V30, and I'm hoping that it will be a true content creator platform in the truest sense of that. I mean, like if you're into mobile video production, if you want the absolute best premium multimedia content consumption platform, I think LG will have a solid argument to make. It's just, can they differentiate it enough from a G7, or can they keep their pricing in check so they don't suffer that initial nerd rage backlash over, oh, it shouldn't be that much more because a OnePlus 6T is this much and I had a ham sandwich for lunch, so it needs to be cheaper. You know, like if they can avoid that pitfall, which we all know LG loves running into that trap, not avoiding that trap, then I think they'll do well. It's just, there's so much competition. I think this is unfortunately going to become an also ran for most reviewers out there.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you just mentioned, because I had like my head, I'm going, there are a couple of things they could have done with like the G7. Advertising wise, going for specific features. You know, I did a comparison of, I did my loudest speaker video, and the G7 is the loudest just by decibels. I'm not saying it's the best or the clearest or, giving the best audio quality.
But it fills a room.
Yeah, it fills a room. And that's something, like say for the World Cup, people are listening like this and somebody just drops the phone. Mm-hmm. And, like that's an ad right there. Just one feature alone and saying that's what the G7 can do, or the camera. And those are the things that they, like we've all said this so many times at LG every single year, that they don't do well. And I hope with the V40, they go, okay, this is what these features are. And this is why it's so good. But the problem is, a lot of those features are going to be similar to the G7 itself.
So where we differentiate, and I have high hopes that we'll see some camera improvements, not just adding the third sensor on the back. I do feel that even though it's my absolute favorite video creation platform, if you're taking a lot of photos in nighttime, like you like night street shots, their noise reduction processing is so extreme because of the smaller camera sensor. So it would be nice if they followed more in Huawei's footsteps. I'd love to see them just take a small step back up to where they were with the V10 and V20 era, with a slightly larger main camera sensor, continue keeping the ultra wide, because I think that's a much better value proposition than a zoom sensor. And then maybe look at some other third camera, like maybe a dual sensor, like a monochrome, like what we see with Huawei. I would love to see LG do the 3-camera sensor that Huawei did, but instead of using a zoom sensor, use the ultra wide as your third sensor.
Okay. All right. Let's move away from LG.
You have the larger battery, you have the OLED screen, and then you have the software features like Cinelog support in your camera app. You can make a good faith argument that this is a different product than the G7. There's just increasingly more overlap between the two, the G and the V brands.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the phone that was unboxed about a month and a half ago. I'm talking about the Pixel from Google.
We know everything about it already.
Yeah, we know everything about this. Some people are saying it's a psych out. It will not have the super notch.
This is
but I have to point. Nick M. Gray on Fandroid had a wonderful editorial about that. My buddy Nick. I got to give the shout out to that. I tweeted it out. I mean, you guys can look it up. It's really easy to find. I would love for this to be true. We all would love for this to be true. If Google was hoping that we would talk ourselves out about how terrible their bathtub notch is, they were wrong. So there's just no evidence, any FCC listings or filings, leaks, demos, anything that we could point to suggest that this is a strategy on Google's part to get to the keynote and like show us an all-screen phone with no notch. It just doesn't happen. And honestly, I have zero faith in Google as a hardware company to pull that off. I don't think they make compelling hardware. I think they're a software company. I think they make amazeballs software. I think the Pixel is going to end up being one of the ugliest phones of the year. And I think it's going to be one of the least compelling for gearheads like me who like really digging into hardware specs.
Adam.
How do I follow that? No, I don't think this is a fake out. I think this is a legitimate leak. And I think this is probably the one event where, whoever's going to come up on stage, whoever is presenting the actual product, they're going to hold up the phone and say, "This is the Google Pixel XL," and like everybody in the audience is going to hold up theirs and say, "Yeah, we got that already. Cool. What else you got?" I just hope that there's more at the event rather than just the Pixel phones, just because I think if it's just the Pixel phones and we already know literally everything there is to know about it, it's going to be a kind of a boring event, except for the fact that we'll get to find out when you get to buy it. Yay. So I'm hoping for probably some type of smart display type announcement. I'm hoping for maybe a Pixel Book refresh. Pixel Watch. Not going to happen. But I just hope that there's more aside from the Pixels, because I'm not excited about the Pixels.
Well, I've heard 7 devices.
7?
Yes, I can't name my sources. I've heard.
Well, 7. Like, I would imagine that we're going to see refreshes across. I mean, like Ellis2 in the live chat talking about like we'll probably get a Pixel Buds refresh.
Mm-hmm.
Pixel
Buds, new Pixel Book,
7 different products. Maybe a refresh on the big speaker thing.
Yeah. So there will be
I wouldn't mind
a new messenger platform. One of those.
Yeah. We've decided that to really unify all of our messaging products, we're going to give you this little keyboard device that looks like a pager. And that's what you'll use to message. And that way you don't have to worry about apps on your phone cluttering up your phone experience.
We call it Google Outbox.
Google Outbox. And threaten to shut down Hangouts again. Just keep threatening to shut down.
Well, just so you guys know, Inbox is closing down if you use it. So just throw that one out there. Warren, anything else you want to add? Or
I think the most interesting thing with the Pixel 3 will be if you hear that they're available on all carriers. If it's not just a Verizon exclusive.
I'm pretty confident it's going to stay at Verizon.
If it doesn't stay a Verizon exclusive and it turns into, hey, you're available at Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T, then it's like, oh, okay, all right. Now,
before you continue, Juan, how confident are you it's a Verizon? You have like some insider source there that we could borrow?
No, I don't. I mean, this is
just wearing a red hat.
Oh yeah, Verizon spy.
So what's hilarious is normally people accuse me of being the communist on this show, and somehow it just became like the image of American capitalism run amok.
Exactly, that's how the best spies are, right?
Right. Yeah, I can play both sides. No, I don't have any specific insight there. It's just my gut feeling that the Pixel gets a benefit from Verizon advertising and Verizon branding. They'll be a part of this 5G conversation. Google will probably tie their boat. Not that the Pixel's going to support 5G.
That's not going to.
But I feel like Google will continue to hitch their wagon to them, put out the little side unlocked version that geeks know about. Even though I think it's probably a better buy to pick up an LG phone for Project Fi. But if you want to get a Pixel, you can get a Pixel directly through Google and use it on any carrier. But I think they get too much benefit in marketing dollars and brand awareness and positioning storefront that the Pixel shows up alongside the iPhone on the big carrier in the United States. I think they'll keep that relationship for probably this next generation. I'm not saying forever, but probably for Pixel 3, I imagine that they'll keep that on lock.
Okay. Sam, any thoughts?
Nothing to add. I think you guys covered it perfectly.
Wow, you're not a Pixel fan, man.
Why do you hate the Pixel?
Yeah, exactly. Explain that, bro.
Well, it doesn't do what
I'm sorry. I was just doing my best Twitter impression.
No, it just doesn't do what I need to do. I found a device that works for my everyday life and also for work, and the Pixel just doesn't appeal to me. That's all.
Oh, all right.
Well,
all right.
let me tell
that's
you,
a fair answer.
I'll have some choice words to come out about these guys. So they just recycled the
Oh,
dongle,
yes.
the Pixel dongle. So these are two different dongles from Google. I'll be talking about. Maybe they're the same. Maybe they're different. Maybe one's better than the other.
You should run a contest.
One you can buy and the other one you can't. So I even had to put a little like Sharpie dot on one of them just so I could tell them apart. But there's maybe going to be a really angry Juan video about one of these.
Angry Juan.
I don't know which one I can.
You kind of rip off Angry Joe. Angry Joe, no, Angry Juan.
Well, actually, I should say Cranky Juan. The people on my channel have taken to calling me Cranky and definitely talking about all the videos where my
Who is this Cranky One that you're talking about? Because I've never met him.
All right. Well,
I love you. The check is in the mail.
We'll save Cranky One. Oh, sorry, man. Anyway, moving on to October 11th, Samsung decided to just throw in a bone out there and say 4 times the fun Galaxy event like that.
I think it's only live stream, right?
Yeah, but I know it's like they're just trying to mess. I think it's like trying to just mess with everybody else. It's probably a tablet or something. It's not even big. I don't feel it's big. I think Samsung was like, so these guys are trying to just come together and do events back to let's just
maybe it's a tablet that folds 4 times.
No, oh my god. Sorry,
that's a bad idea.
If you like a ladder thing where you flip it and
crank back.
I guess nobody has any idea what this event is, so
it's a Galaxy device.
It's a Galaxy camera with a 4x zoom.
I would love
there you go.
A Galaxy camera. I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
I would actually be okay with that. I'd still be mad because they haven't, they walked away from the NX line, and the NX cameras were freaking awesome, and Samsung gutted me when they did that. But no, I mean, like, even on my Patreon, I kind of left it up to a vote whether or not I should dig deep into Galaxy Note 9 coverage, and they all said walk away. So Samsung is definitely trying to stay a part of what's going to be one of the biggest conversation points of the year. And I think they're going to get bounced out. There's too much other stuff to talk about.
Well, the problem is the iPhone and the Pixel are going to take up the majority of the conversation for the rest of the fall. Well, the Note, it didn't do that one compelling extra thing you were looking for to keep it in the rest with the other. It was a very iterative change. So, and I think everyone's just excited about the other one. So,
yeah, I mean, I do agree. But when I look at all those devices, I mean, if we're comparing those 3, I would take the Note. Granted, I use a Note, so that's also just saying that in there. I would never pick an iPhone because I hate it. I'll burn it. Not yet once because I spent a lot of money on it. But
you can burn it after you make a video about it.
No, I would not do that. I would
just make sure you burn it wearing a pair of Nikes.
My kids are
no. Anyway,
I've never been a huge fan of Nikes. I've been buying so much Nike gear over the last.
Don't say that too loud. I am in Nike. I am Nikeville. Don't say you don't like Nike.
That's what I'm saying. If marketing was gonna work on me, and being a contrarian, seeing the backlash to people burning gear that they've already purchased instead of donating it to people who could have used it, like, I don't know, veterans. It actually has been encouraging me to part with some of my fashion dollars to a company that I in the past haven't been the biggest supporter of.
Okay. All right.
I'm not the biggest fan of Apple, but I mean of. Sorry, I'm looking at.
I wasn't gonna buy an iPhone, but when Color Kaepernick came out on stage, man, I was all over it.
I'm looking at the watches, and I got pissed off at Nike when they basically killed the Nike band because of some.
Don't mention the word band around me.
I know. It's a trigger word. I'm sorry.
Oh my.
No, but realistically, I was out the other day and I was buying workout gear, and I went towards the Nike gear simply because I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty sure it's a marketing thing, but the fact that they took a stand to me kind of appealed to me. It just appealed.
That's exactly what they were hoping for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
and that's what we for it.
All right, moving on to Huawei, which is the last device here. There is a Nokia, which we don't know when they have a date for, but just let's actually talk on that.
Spider
quickly.
Cam,
Yeah, Spider Cam. It's got 5.
Not a Spider Cam.
Do you think they're working with the guys from Light or Lytro, whatever that camera was? Because I think that's kind of what they're going with here. Any thoughts on the?
I haven't heard anything, but classic PureView Nokia teams were working on that kind of image processing back during the Lumia 920 days.
Well, no, did some of those guys go to Light?
I honestly don't know. I mean, I really don't, because
might be it, yeah.
There were some similar ideas being bandied about, and now we've gotten to a point where multiple pustules on the back of your phone are not a deal breaker.
Yeah.
So it makes
sense. As long as you don't have trypophobia. Which
even then,
which by the way, I don't. I'm happy to say.
But this is sort of in keeping with some of those classic Nokia ideas. Remember, they had a depth of field blur. I think the lens was called refocus.
Yeah.
Where you took 3 static images at different focus distances and then smushed them together for you. So they've been ahead of the curve on that kind of stuff. Now they're playing catch up. So even if they're not directly working with Lytro or Light or one of those companies, there's definitely been some cross inspiration.
Can I just say, we're going to 5 cameras. We used to be the vanguard of photography, and then they came out with their 3 cameras. Well, screw it, we're going to 5.
RIP
headphone users. So.
Yeah. Sorry. Warning next time. Warning. Granted, all our volumes are fine because as we all looked, we were like, okay, this is all right for us.
Go Google that. That Onion article is a fantastic read.
All right, so let's move on to the second largest smartphone manufacturer on the planet. Talking about
Apple.
Huawei.
No, I'm just kidding.
Apple's number 3 now. They've been
I know.
Even though all that $1 trillion comes from dongle money.
No, they said in their keynote that they're the number 1 smartphone in the world. They have no metric by which they are the number 1.
I want to know.
But they're the number 1. Just like they have the most advanced LCD in a phone.
Yeah.
By no metric, but it's the most advanced.
Because we said so.
Yeah, it's that we said so. They've got the most of everything.
You guys don't believe everything Apple says? What's wrong with you guys?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I apologize for
prove that I'm wrong. Come on.
Yeah. But yeah, so Huawei announced, of course, that the Mate 20 and most likely the Mate 20 Pro will be landing on the 15th. Events take place in London. It's going to have a 3-camera setup, which we can clearly see from their invitation flyer. What do you think? You think they're going to step it up from what they had with the P20 Pro? Biggest sensor, maybe, from what they had the last time, or better software processing? What do you think?
Well, I did a 20-minute camera review on the P20 Pro, and I have some very significant concerns over some of the things that people might want to do with that phone camera. I've always taken the Mate, though, to be the more professional product. So even if you don't get the Mate Pro, even the Mate is a more robust phone. So a little less fashion focus, hopefully continuing a trend on bigger batteries, more RAM, really pushing forward on things like the desktop mode, and then leveraging the Kirin 980. So it's the platform to show off their new chipset, which will hopefully leapfrog the Qualcomm 845 just before we get phones that start using the 855. So that's really what I'm looking at the Mate to do, is to kind of move that ecosystem beyond what we could do at the beginning of the year with last year's chipset.
All right. Sam.
No real comment on the Huawei Mate phone.
I knew he was going to say that. I'm sorry. I saw him looking down. He was just going to say, yeah, sorry, I have no comment on this.
It's one of those things. I like the whole idea of having a different form factor for your cameras. I don't know if it's going to be 2 or 3 or 4 cameras, but it is a square camera
housing. Yeah,
which is interesting, which would be different, which would be unique to them. But at the end of the day, it will be interesting to see exactly what they're going to do with that particular.
Who's going to be the first to 10 cameras on a phone? 10.
I mean, we're going to have 5. So
Apple.
10 cameras on your phone.
No, but now I know it sounds like everybody's kind of the same place, even though we haven't asked. But okay, what's up with Huawei and just cheating on scores, man? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Like, why you got to cheat when people already like you?
Better question: why does
because
Huawei
everyone else is cheating and they're just the only ones that got caught?
Why does Huawei think anybody cares about the scores?
Yeah.
Well,
because all tech reviewers use it as benchmarks because they don't want to actually talk about real world performance.
Well, and also there is something about an easy, pithy number score. Like look at what's the camera review website? DxO. If you actually read through their testing protocol, I find that they are internally consistent with how they rank individual aspects of the camera. But the fact that they dump a big number score at the end is the worst geek bullshit that I have to fight every time. No, DxO gave it a higher score, so you're biased. And you're like, but my findings actually confirmed what DxO said about bad low light performance or, shaky video quality. You didn't read the DxO review. You just looked at the last number score. And I think benchmarks fall into that category too. It's real easy for someone who's just a little bit tech savvier than the average consumer to feel good about the purchase they've already made, but it's not really indicative of real world performance. It doesn't help educate someone who might be making a purchasing decision. It's just ego stroking at this point. So Huawei wants to keep their fan base happy. The people who have already purchased Huawei phones want to feel like they're the winners. So those scores matter I think those scores matter more for people who have already bought into the brand as opposed to people who might be considering shopping with the brand.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, you kind of lose. My eyes kind of glaze over once I hit that sixth digit. This had a benchmark of 438,562.
That's nice. Exactly. Cool. It's just like I can understand. Cool stuff, bro. I can understand scores at the end of reviews and stuff like that because that you gotta qualify. It's just an easy number to qualify things with, and some people are just gonna check to that. Some people will look at that, then read back why the scorer got that, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I don't have. At the end of the day, I don't really have the problem with the number stuff because now everybody's kind of settled into their own way of the way they do their numbers, and one place might do it differently than the other. You just have to accept that this is what this site does for how they do their number scoring or however they do their equivalents. I think that's fine. The benchmark stuff is always to me been like, this was cool for PC equipment, laptops, things on that market because it made sense to have that because those benchmarks, while not necessarily relative to world performance, if you knew where one thing benched someplace or another, you had an idea what that performance was going to be like. And you knew that in a sense you could change parts. You can use those benchmarks as a reason to why you might want to use this part over this part versus using this here to get a value, especially the type of the money you're spending. When you're dealing with phones, you can't change any damn parts in the phone.
That's true.
So what does that score matter?
Other than just the ego stroking.
It's just ego stroking. And like I said, it allows a lot of tech reviewers to just say a benchmark and make it easy. It's just like the screen on time thing. It's just a really easy number that's automatically done for them that they can just spit out that makes them sound like they're knowledgeable about the phone itself. When the reality is it doesn't give you
That's why when you look at like the different outlets that do different types, like I really like GSM's battery benchmark, but I still don't feel it's really indicative of any kind of individual real world behavior. I've given up. I just do I don't know, I play a movie for 30 minutes. You can kind of gauge like what one use aspect of that might be in a real world context. Because I'm not going to sit here and try and drain my phone and charge my phone and drain my phone.
They give you the damn number. They give you the number. Like, I think me and Eve years ago, we were battling against this whole screen on time thing. And we both said, go to your battery settings. They gave you the damn number there. Use the phone. Pull out that number. That's your battery life.
Right. But I can't use screen on time because I do a whole ton of things on my phones with the screen off. But so my screen on time number is going to be very skewed against what a normal idea of screen on time should represent. So again, like I keep having to get into that minutia and nuance as well, and we lose the simplicity of just having screen on time is this, so that's better. And I feel like that's really tricky to untangle. It's why my camera reviews are 20 minutes long. Is because it's not, does it have good color? It's like, there's a lot you really need to talk about if you're really gonna review a camera. But again, that's not conducive for someone who just wants a thumbs up, thumbs down to verify the purchase that they've already made. And I mean, I think a lot of us have talked about this in the past. A lot of the traffic coming to our videos are not from people who want to be educated about a potential future purchase. Is they're coming to validate the purchase they've already made. And that's a very stark shift in the
they happen
psychology.
to like.
Yeah, that's why I watch
brand
your
that they
videos.
happen to like.
That's the only reason why I watch your videos. One.
Look at this. It says right here your total usage. You can do screen time, apps, like phone and idle, and it tells you how your phone is used for your battery. But yet, you need a separate fucking test based on how long a screen is on for.
Wait. I thought we were
measure battery life.
I knew. I was waiting for Adam to say that. He joined in late, so yeah, that's what happened.
Oh, so he didn't hear the first fuck, so he gets to say fucking.
Oh God!
Oh, dang
We are at 4 F-bombs, folks.
We're getting banned from YouTube now.
all right. I think we've come to the end of the show. I guess this
time is it?
This is a good comeback show.
I need to get going to get to this wedding that's happening in like a minute, like a couple hours.
All right, man.
Catch you guys later in the next one.
All right.
Take it easy. Smartwatches are stupid and benchmarks are stupid too. Bye.
Amen.
Speaking of effing, I have to go to a wedding.
Well, yeah. Thanks everyone for chiming in, joining. Now, Juan, are you serious about moving the time? Do you care about that?
I think we should chat it out. I mean, this actually lines up really well because Lex goes down for a nap around noon-ish. So
we got a lot of engagement today. I want to thank everyone for chiming in. And also we've been away for a while. So we might move the time. If you guys like this later time as well, voice it out. Let us know. I'd like to see Juan early in the morning while he just rises from bed. Drinking coffee.
It's like so many times I've literally gotten in front of the camera, put the hat on, and like full screen before anyone else shows up. I'm like picking the gunk out of my eyes as he's like setting up his mic on his side. And you've gotten way too much of Juan's early morning biology. I should spare you that.
Yeah. That's it. I'm used to it now. It's like part of like my Saturday routine. But yeah, let us know if 3 p.m.
Not to mention this way, Thunder, you got a nice nap in before the podcast.
I mean, I was tired. Yeah, I had to take a nap, but I was just saying this might interfere with my afternoon dates. Just saying.
Yeah, no, but normally it's when I cut my hair, so it's one of those things.
Yeah,
all the hair I have up here.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any hair though, but
exactly because I cut it.
I have really bad news for you, Sam. You're probably getting ripped off on your haircuts.
It's funny because it's dirty.
That is very true.
And I should know.
Okay, all right, cool, guys. Well, keep chiming in, and it looks like a lot of people like that 3 p.m. So we'll try it again.
Wow. It looks as though my video was frozen for a long time.
Yeah, we'll try it again next week, and we'll see how it goes. But we've come to part of the show where we talk about what we currently have on our channels and what we can expect next week. For Mr. Warren Bowman, who left, he usually says stuff. So go out there and check stuff on bw1.com. And following up here is Mr. Juan Bagnell.
Hold on, I've got to. You do it first. I've got to say something funny. In the
okay, all right. At this point, I want to ask Adam. So where can people find you, and check you out, and also follow you on Twitter?
Well, I'm Dead Technology on Twitter. And as for finding me, I'm all over the place. But most prominently, I'm at Android Authority and Sound Guys. We have 2 podcasts. The Android Authority podcast, which is, your weekly news roundup, yada, yada. And then we have the Sound Guys podcast, which is exploring the world of sound like you've never heard it. It's a narrative style podcast. It's really fun. And we actually just had 2 episodes. We just had an Android Authority episode and a Sound Guys episode drop today, so you can go check those out. Plus, we had our epic crossover event where we had the Sound Guys on the Android Authority podcast and the Android Authority on the Sound Guys podcast. It was the biggest crossover since Infinity War. I'm just saying.
The most ambitious crossover in podcasting history.
You have.
I'm sweating already, man.
So go check those out because we debunk the myth that Bluetooth radiation will give you cancer and autism and all that other stuff.
I am so excited. I may or may not be wearing pants.
All right.
I'm excited that you may not be wearing pants.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right, Juan, what about you?
Okay.
What do we expect?
Yeah, a couple things. I mean, we've still been keeping up with the Newegg Nows. 2 weeks ago, we did a 6-hour live stream. Last week, we had a pretty straightforward, normal 1-hour show. We got to spend a little time with the folks at Seagate, talking about different storage solutions. So that was pretty cool. On the personal channel, on my personal YouTube, I've been spending a little bit more time just getting back in touch with my audio roots. So I've been covering recording solutions, wireless mics for phones, things like that. And then some really fun headphone and premium audio solutions. I did a Bluetooth headphone review with a pair of cans that give you hearing tests, so you can kind of gauge your hearing health over time. And then I also popped out these bad boys. These are the KZ ES4, which are in-ear monitors, and $20. And these have no business sounding as good as they do for $20. Of course, if you can plug into a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack.
All right. So the question is, should I add it to my collection? Should I just go ahead and do that right now?
At $20, I would highly recommend having a pair of earbuds that sound way better than $20. That then won't hurt your soul if you happen to break them. And I'm just going to spoil a major part of the review right now, is that these are detachable drivers. So you can replace the cable for $20.
$20. All right, cool,
so
guys.
I put that out there. That review's out. This next week, I'm going to have even more audio tech. I just got the new LG Tone Platinum SE. So really sleek neckband. Again, dual, sort of a hybrid driver, not really a dual driver, but a hybrid driver, earbud style design. I'm wrapping up my review on the Creative Sound Blaster X6, the G6 version of the Sound Blaster. It's this little.
I'm waiting for that, man.
This so stinking loud. Oh my God. So they've got this scout mode where in real time, it filters game audio to give you hard targeted directional audio elements. So like if you're in a battle royale game, like a PUBG or a Fortnite, it is hard positioning audio elements from people around you before you can see them. And it's jacking up that audio. It's like having a hearing aid for your video games. And then you can just use it as a regular, like high-end USB audio interface. So your movies and your music sound better too. At $150, it's a profoundly novel gaming experience that I don't think I've ever heard before on just my normal audio kit. So that'll be out. That review will be out next week too.
Nice.
Sweet. All right. Cool. Ah, man, I'm excited. I'm trying to purchase.
Sorry.
Stuff.
And real quick, I started a new podcast series that you guys are probably going to be on at some point. I just haven't locked down time. Sorry, that's actually a big deal. Creator chat. So I'm trying to talk to my favorite internet creators. And so I started the series off with TK Bay because he's a neighbor. I just recorded an interview with the nitpicker, Demir Frank. So that'll be out next week. I need to, when we're off air, I need to talk to you, Adam, because I want to talk to you about some of the work that you do. Obviously, Anabong and Sam, I want to have sort of a work roundup. But this is going to expand out. So I'm talking to some people about interviews soon for web series creators, for animators, for voice actors, anyone who I feel is making good stuff online. I feel we can all share those stories about how we got into this, some of the changes that we've seen over time. Like our platforms have definitely changed from when we first started producing content online. I started out as a writer, moved into video, gotten into podcasting. This has evolved in some very interesting ways. And so that is going to be a part of the whole SGGQA podcast. It's not going to be on YouTube. It is just going to be long form audio podcast discussions that you can catch either through somegadgetguy.com or you can look me up on any of your favorite podcasting services. The TK Bay episode is out now. Demir Frank is going to be out on Friday. And then I'm going to put together a calendar so people know when future episodes are going to arrive.
Cool, man. That is absolutely
what's the name of the podcast? Because I'm subscribing right now, bro.
SGGQA. So some gadget guy Q&A, and then that's where I do my Monday morning podcast where I rant about net neutrality for 2 hours every Monday.
Okay. That one, yeah.
And then on that podcast feed will be creator chat. And so the top episode right now should be the episode with TK Bay.
You and I should talk about branding. Okay, go ahead.
It's a terrible name for a podcast, but it's like I haven't had the chance to rebrand it. I'm just gonna stick with it for now.
All right. Cool. On my end, we have a lovely video from Adam, who helped us out with the Moto Z3 review. So definitely check that out. His thoughts on it. Yes, the Cubs show up permanently there, as well as also what 5G means on this device. So definitely check that out.
And I get to do a John Oliver joke on the video, which I was really proud of. Yeah. So if anybody gets that reference, please let me know, because I was very proud of that. I'm sorry. As you were.
We've got a few other ones. We've got a bunch of videos because we haven't actually had the show in about 2 weeks. But definitely go check out the Galaxy Watch review. That is one device I've enjoyed, especially after giving up on smartwatches. The battery life there has been really good. I say 4 days, and working out in those 4 days for me was something that I was like, okay, I can actually use this. So check that out. We've got our 30-day impressions on the review on the Galaxy Note 9. I do not do standard reviews anymore because it's not needed.
Why? You put all that time and effort into a review on YouTube, and then YouTube's still gonna slam us anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. And one, if you are a gamer, you want to budget, but I will let you know now that it would be hard for you to use this phone in the US. The Poco phone, I did a gaming video on that.
Oh, nice.
It runs very, very well. I mean, it's 845, but just in that $300 housing, it's.
I always make the metaphor. You could put a kick-ass engine on a crap transmission. So just because it's got an awesome chipset doesn't mean that the company is taking the time to refine and to optimize. And so what I've seen, I think you could probably push some other phones a little faster, a little quicker, a little snappier, but not at 300.
A Ferrari engine and a Toyota body.
With, but I mean, if we had like an MR2 suspension, that'd be okay.
Yeah, but I would say they've done a good job though. You would be surprised in how well it cools. Because that was my main thing. I was like, you can perform, but will it cool well enough? That's the thing. So you check that out.
Cooking eggs on it?
Okay. Yeah, no. And of course, we have our iPhone coverage there, which you guys can go ahead and see. But thank you very much, everyone, for commenting and chatting and leaving your thoughts. It looks like a lot of people like 3 p.m. next week, so we'll definitely try that out a second go. Make sure you show up so we can actually do that. And I want to thank our special guest this week, Adam Dowd. Thank you very much, Adam. Where again can people find you?
Dead Technology on Twitter, or the Android Authority podcast.
All right. And yes, you can check out and follow Mr. Warren Bowman, who is not here but was here earlier. It's bw1.com. He is on that handle, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, as well as also his own website, bw1.com. And of course, YouTube. Subscribe, hit the bell. And Mr. Juan Bagnell, it is Some Gadget Guy everywhere, even on Snapchat and Instagram TV, because we're waiting for that episode.
It'll keep waiting. Definitely hold your breath for my first foray into portrait video on it.
Yes, still waiting for that. But yeah, you can find him on the web as Some Gadget Guy, and also his website is somegadgetguy.com. And he does a show on New York Now, Thursdays, 1 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to use my time zone because that's one thing I remember with. And he does that with Trisha Hirschberger. Great show, lovely. I love the Thermotake rig.
Yeah, it's fun.
I'm building one myself, so
hashtag save the fan.
Sorry, no, I'm not building one. I am assembling it. I will record. Sam is going to do all the liquid cooling. So that's
how crazy. I mean, when we did that 6-hour stream, when he just started gutting the reservoir to like take things apart, and it dropped my jaw. I'm so scared of doing like real custom fit liquid cooling. He's just like, yeah, no, just watch. It's like,
yeah. I don't know what happened to Sam though. He's frozen or something.
Yeah,
but
my camera is frozen for some reason.
yeah, but I showed Sam the casing now, and he's like, yeah, we should do it. We should do custom. I was like, you want to do it? He's like, yeah, I'll do it. It's fine. He did the last one because I just can't.
It's trial and error. After you've screwed up your own personal computer by screwing up the water cooling, the custom water cooling several times, you learn a few things.
I'm glad he didn't screw mine up. He had a build from hell where he lost 2 graphics cards, right?
It wasn't really the water cooling's fault. It was at the end of the day, I think I just got really crappy graphics cards when it was shipped down here. And they ended up failing. In the whole process of trying to fix everything, I had to take it down like 3 or 4 times, and it just I made a mistake once out of those times, and I flooded my my power supply.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that's a bad thing to do.
Like Sam was letting out all the magic smoke there.
Yeah. But yeah, Sam, you can find Sam on Twitter. It is _man, and also on Instagram, _man. It's part of Booredatwork Network. And myself, it is Booredatwork everywhere, except Snapchat. Just don't do that at all. No. So subscribe, hit the bell. Thank you very much, and always enjoy your entertainment.
Bam.